Sarah Friar really does have to think about the profitability of this business in the longer term.
That's right, if you think about it. So, I was also recently at a media dinner with Sam Altman when he said we plan to spend trillions on infrastructure in the near future, and that economists might call that crazy, but they are marching on. So as OpenAI starts to put this immense, unprecedented amount of capital right toward data center expansion, they're building expertise in that. And I think the long-term play here as well, how could we in the future potentially market and capitalize on that expertise?
And be able to drive up revenues, to be getting better financing for the future of their own infrastructure spend. At the moment, they've been funding that spend by raising money in venture. Any nuance there? She really did talk about how they've been able to sort of raise more than they anticipated.
Yes, they were planning on $10 billion in one piece of their kind of tranched funding round. She said that they have actually gotten to $11 billion because of excess investor interest. And more broadly, they're actually looking beyond just equity financing at this point. They're also, as Friar told us, interested in debt and debt financing. And they have said that banks and private equity firms have approached them about this.
So interesting as we see how Meta has been financing some of its data center needs, getting into the world of private credit with PIMCO and Blue Owl. What more about the growth of the business when we're just coming off the back of GPT-5 and some of the throws around that, and they had to make some difficult choices, particularly when it came to, well, how nice the chatbot is to people and how they bring back other models and the like?
That's right. So it was definitely a bumpy rollout. I think bumpier than they expected, right? Also at that dinner, Altman, said, we messed up on the emotional attachment. I think they did not realize that people fully had to the older version of the chatbot, and they were all a lot of users were angry that OpenAI initially deprecated the older model. However, I think overall, the bigger picture is that ChatGPT is still the market leader, right, on consumer usage, just on chatbot usage overall, and they still have this voracious demand, as Friar put it, for the use of their products that requires intensive compute.
And there's voracious demand to fund it, as we were talking about. And actually, eventually, retail want to be owning a piece of this company. More people, democratization. Sam's spoken about eventually the need to IPO. But as a CFO, how is she thinking about that, Sarah Friar?
I mean, for Sarah Friar, her job is both to raise these funds, right, for OpenAI, but also be able to allocate that compute for these customers. Oftentimes, they're having to decide in advance which customers are actually going to get the compute power they need to run all the ChatGPT products. So it's a mix of fundraising, of keeping customers happy, keeping consumers happy, and figuring out all the right the financing and money for it.